The sky above the dragon world burned with the colors of fire and smoke. The battlefield was silent now, but the air still carried the echoes of roars and clashes. In the center of the ruined valley lay the alien dragon queen. Her scales, once shining like molten gold, were cracked and dulled. Her massive wings sagged against the rocky ground, and her eyes, usually bright with power, were clouded with pain. She let out a low, trembling growl that carried across the valley. Around her, dragons of all sizes circled in confusion and fear. They had never seen their queen so weak. Normally fierce and unshakable, she now seemed fragile, as if even a strong wind could tip her over. Many of the elder dragons tried to approach her, their voices soft and anxious, but every touch or nudge seemed to make her whimper. No one dared get too close, afraid they might worsen her injuries. Across the stars, on a small human colony, a young technician named Alex worked late into the night. He was not a soldier or a warrior, he was a thinker, a fixer, someone who loved solving impossible problems. Alex had been monitoring the galaxy's unusual energy signals when a strange alert appeared on his screen. It was a distress signal, almost imperceptible, coming from a distant, uncharted planet. The energy signature was enormous, unlike anything humans had seen before. Curiosity and a strange sense of duty gripped him. He packed his tools, checked his small ship, and prepared to leave, even knowing he might be facing danger beyond his understanding. When Alex arrived at the dragon world, he was met by silence and a strange sense of awe. The landscape was jagged and alive, filled with cliffs and glowing minerals. He landed his ship cautiously, the engines humming softly as he stepped out. Then he saw her. The alien dragon queen. She was larger than anything he had imagined, her body twisted in pain, her chest barely rising and falling. Alex froze for a moment, feeling both fear and an urgent need to act. A dragon scout, smaller and quicker than the others, landed a few feet away. Its scales were bright silver and its eyes were sharp with intelligence. The scout, Zephyr, hissed softly at Alex, warning him to stay back. But Alex did not move. He spoke in calm, gentle tones, explaining that he wanted to help. The other dragons roared their disagreement, circling higher in the air, but Zephyr watched closely, curiosity flickering in its gaze. Alex knelt beside the queen, careful not to touch her directly. He scanned her with his small handheld device, watching as the readings appeared on the screen. Her heart was weak, her energy fading fast. Injuries were deep and complex, not something that could be healed with alien medicine or dragon magic alone. Alex's mind raced. He had faced difficult repairs before, but this was different. This was life itself, and the stakes were enormous. Hours passed as Alex examined every detail. He moved carefully, taking nothing for granted. Zephyr hovered nearby, offering small gestures of encouragement, brushing against the queen's tail when Alex's hands needed to be free. Slowly, the other dragons began to lower their wings, watching with a mixture of fear and hope. They had never seen a human work with such precision, with such patience. But the queen's condition worsened. Her breathing became shallow and her massive eyes seemed to dim further. Alex's hands shook slightly, but he refused to give up. He spoke softly to her, telling her she was not alone. His voice was quiet, human, fragile even, yet there was something in it that reached her. She blinked just once, but it was enough to let Alex know she was listening. Night fell, and the valley was bathed in a pale alien glow. Stars glittered above, unfamiliar constellations reflecting in the queen's dull eyes. Alex worked tirelessly, assembling small machines and devices that hummed with energy. He had no guarantee of success, but he had determination, and that mattered. Zephyr flew in tight circles, keeping watch, warning Alex of approaching dangers. For the first time, the dragons realized that humans, though smaller and weaker in body, could think, plan, and act in ways even dragons could not. Suddenly, a tremor shook the ground. Rocks fell from the cliffs, and a distant roar echoed across the valley. Alex and Zephyr both turned their heads. The dragons stiffened, their instincts telling them danger was near. But Alex stayed close to the queen, determined not to let anything stop him. He realized that the queen's survival depended on timing, precision, and his willingness to face the unknown. He worked through the night, repairing devices and adjusting small mechanisms, all designed to stabilize her life force. Each adjustment caused a tiny flicker of color to return to her scales, a small pulse of energy in her wings. The queen's breathing grew steadier, and though she could not move much, she lifted her head slightly. Zephyr chirped in excitement, circling Alex as if to tell him he was doing something impossible. By dawn, the valley was quiet, bathed in soft, golden light. The other dragons watched from above, some landing closer, unable to hide their awe. The queen stirred more noticeably, her eyes opening slightly to meet Alex's. There was a spark there, a glimmer of hope that had not existed before. Alex smiled, exhausted but proud. He knew this was only the beginning, that the road ahead would be harder, but he had crossed the first threshold. For the first time, the dragon saw a human not as fragile or weak, but as a being capable of courage, intelligence, and impossible feats. And the queen, once thought lost, showed the tiniest sign that she might live. Alex took a deep breath, realizing that sometimes even the smallest hand could touch the greatest heart in the galaxy. Alex stood beside the alien dragon queen, watching her chest rise and fall with greater strength than before. Her golden scales shimmered faintly in the morning light, but he knew she was still very weak. The other dragons hovered above, their eyes full of concern. They had tried their own healing methods but nothing had worked. Now, a small human had managed to keep her alive, and that both amazed and unsettled them. Alex examined the queen carefully. Her injuries were deep, and her life force seemed unstable. Alien medicine, dragon magic, even advanced healing technology could not fully repair her. Alex realized that the solution had to be something different. He whispered to himself, thinking through every possibility. If he failed, the queen would die and the dragons would lose their leader forever. But giving up was not an option. He opened his small toolkit and laid out several devices he had designed himself. Nanobots, energy stabilizers, and portable repair modules, all human inventions that the dragons had never seen before. Alex knew it was risky. The queen was enormous, far larger than any creature he had ever worked on. One wrong move could hurt her more than help. Still, he was determined. Zephyr, the young silver dragon, hovered nearby. Its eyes were curious, cautious, but willing to trust this tiny human who dared to approach the queen. Zephyr chirped softly, brushing the queen's tail gently as if to encourage her. Alex smiled. He realized that he could not do this alone. He needed the dragon's cooperation, at least from Zephyr. He spoke calmly to the other dragons. I need space and I need your help. I can fix her, but only if I can work without interference. Trust me. The dragons looked at one another, unsure if they could believe a human. Their roars and growls echoed through the valley, but finally they stepped back, giving Alex room to work. Alex began by scanning the queen's wounds with his devices. Streams of data flowed across his screen. Broken energy cells in her body, damaged nerves, and unstable life force readings. It was worse than he imagined. But he noticed one thing. Her own natural energy was still active, just very weak. If he could stabilize it, the queen might recover. He smiled, seeing a small chance. He activated the nanobots, tiny machines designed to repair tissue at a cellular level. They floated around the queen, guided by Alex's controls. At first, nothing seemed to happen and the dragons murmured anxiously. But slowly the nanobots began to mend her scales and muscles. A soft golden glow returned to parts of her body, and her breathing became steadier. Just as Alex focused on the queen, a loud roar shattered the calm. From the cliffs above, a group of alien raiders appeared, their ships hovering in the sky. They had seen the chaos earlier and now wanted to finish what they had started. The dragons growled and roared, ready to fight, but the queen could not defend herself. Alex felt a surge of panic. He had not planned for a battle, but he knew he had to protect her. Thinking quickly, Alex activated a shield device he had created for emergencies. A translucent dome of energy appeared around the queen and him. The raiders' initial attacks bounced harmlessly off the shield. Zephyr flew close, keeping watch, while the other dragons circled above, unsure whether to join the fight or flee. Alex's heart pounded, but he did not stop working. He adjusted the nanobots, sending more energy to the queen. Time passed slowly. The raiders fired repeatedly, but Alex's shield held. The queen stirred slightly, opening her eyes wider than before. She looked at Alex and gave a small, almost imperceptible nod. He understood it as a sign of trust. Even though she was still weak, she recognized that this human was helping her in ways no dragon ever could. Alex then realized he could combine human technology with the queen's own energy. He connected his devices to the faint life signals in her body. The glow from her scales grew stronger, spreading slowly across her wings and back. The dragons gasped in awe. They had never seen a human do anything like this. Even Zephyr seemed to smile, circling the queen in delight. The raiders, frustrated by the shield and the queen's sudden faint energy pulses, retreated temporarily. Alex took a moment to breathe but knew they would return. He turned his attention back to the queen. He moved with care, adjusting nanobots and stabilizers, whispering to her softly. Almost there, stay with me, he said. His voice was calm but inside he was tense. One mistake could end everything. Hours passed. The sun rose higher, casting long shadows across the valley. Slowly the queen's breathing became steady, her eyes brighter, her wings lifting slightly. She was not fully recovered but she was alive. Alex smiled, exhausted but relieved. He had done what no dragon, no alien had been able to do. He had saved her, at least for now. The dragons hovered closer, watching silently. Some were still cautious but all were curious and impressed. They had always thought humans were fragile, small and weak. Now they saw strength in intelligence, in courage, in determination. A single human had stood among them and accomplished what their entire species had failed to do. Zephyr landed beside Alex, brushing against his arm with soft encouragement. Alex patted the dragon gently. He knew that trust had been earned, not demanded. The queen lifted her head slightly, her massive eyes locking on Alex. For the first time it seemed she understood him. She did not speak but the connection was clear, a bond of hope and survival. Alex realized that the queen's recovery was only the beginning. The raiders would return and new challenges awaited. But for now the impossible had been achieved. A human had dared, had risked everything and had given the dragons their queen back. And the dragons, once skeptical and proud, had learned something new. Even the smallest beings could make the greatest difference. He packed his tools carefully, preparing for what would come next. The queen was alive and he was still needed. Above, the sky was wide and open, full of possibilities. Alex took a deep breath and looked at the dragons. "We're just getting started," he whispered, and in that moment, the valley felt alive with hope, courage, and the promise of what a human could do. The alien dragon queen had regained some strength, but she was still weak. Her massive body lay across the valley floor, wings trembling slightly as she tried to lift herself. Alex worked beside her, adjusting his devices, monitoring her life force, and guiding the tiny nanobots that repaired her damaged scales and muscles. Zephyr hovered close, eyes sharp, watching for any danger. The valley was quiet, but Alex knew this calm would not last. Suddenly, the sky darkened with the shadow of approaching ships. Alien raiders returned, larger and more aggressive than before. Their engines roared as they swooped down toward the valley. The dragons growled, circling the queen protectively, but she was still too weak to fight. Alex's heart pounded. He had not expected a second attack so soon. Thinking quickly, Alex activated his emergency shield. A dome of shimmering energy appeared around the queen and himself, glowing faintly under the alien sun. The first shots from the raiders bounced harmlessly off the shield. Zephyr darted forward, calling warnings to the other dragons who hovered higher, confused and unsure how to respond. Alex realized that the shield alone would not hold forever. He needed a plan, something no dragon had considered before. He studied the queen's energy readings and noticed something unusual. Despite her weakness, a spark of raw power remained in her core. If he could amplify that energy with his human technology, they might be able to drive the raiders away. He adjusted his devices, linking them to the queen's faint life force. Tiny pulses of energy began to flow outward, lighting up her scales with a soft golden glow. The dragons watched in awe as the human guided the queen's own power through his machines. It was unlike anything they had ever seen. They roared, both in confusion and admiration, realizing that this human could do something no dragon could. The raiders attacked again, firing beams that struck the shield with a loud hum. Alex adjusted the energy flow, sending pulses back toward the attackers. The queen stirred, her eyes opening wider as she felt her power being amplified. With Alex's guidance, she flexed her wings slightly, sending a shockwave that pushed some raiders back. It was a small victory but enough to inspire hope. Zephyr landed near Alex, chirping and nudging his shoulder as if to say, "Keep going. You can do it." Alex smiled briefly, grateful for the support. He focused, adjusting the devices with precision. Every second counted. The queen's breathing grew steadier, and her massive body began to rise slowly. She was not fully strong but she was moving and the raiders were noticing the change. Suddenly, one of the raiders' ships broke through the shield and fired a direct beam at the queen. Alex reacted instantly, redirecting the energy from his device to absorb the attack. The queen shuddered but did not fall. The other dragons roared, forming a defensive circle, and even the hesitant ones began to participate. They realized that this tiny human was doing something extraordinary. The queen tried to stand fully, her wings shaking, but her power alone was not enough. Alex climbed onto a small ledge of rock beside her and guided her movements. "Use your strength with mine," he whispered. The combination of her dragon energy and his human devices created a unique force, pushing the raiders back. The attackers roared in frustration, clearly unprepared for such an unexpected defense. Minutes passed like hours. The raiders continued to attack, but Alex did not stop. He adjusted, recalculated, and redirected the energy with every pulse. Slowly, the queen's strength returned more noticeably. Her wings lifted higher, her claws dug into the ground, and her roar echoed across the valley, powerful and full of life. It was a sound that made the raiders hesitate. Finally, Alex made one last adjustment. He focused all the energy through the queen's core. She flexed her massive wings and released a wave of power that scattered the raiders' ships. They screamed in retreat, disappearing into the distant sky. The valley fell silent again, this time with a different feeling, a sense of victory, relief, and awe. The dragons hovered above, amazed at what they had just witnessed. They had seen humans as fragile creatures, small and weak, but now they understood something new. Courage, intelligence, and determination could surpass brute strength. Alex had faced an impossible task and succeeded, guiding the queen back from the brink of death and defeating the raiders at the same time. The queen lowered herself to the ground, breathing heavily but steadily. She looked at Alex, her massive eyes filled with recognition and something deeper: gratitude, respect, and trust. She had survived not because of her own strength alone, but because a human had dared to do the impossible. Zephyr landed beside Alex, brushing against him gently. Alex patted the dragon's head, feeling a bond forming between human and dragon. The other dragons landed nearby, still cautious but curious, watching the queen recover under Alex's care. Alex took a deep breath, exhausted but satisfied. The impossible had been done. The queen was alive, the raiders had been repelled, and the dragons had learned something valuable about humans. Even the smallest hand could change the fate of the largest creature in the galaxy. As the sun set over the valley, the queen finally stretched her wings fully, casting a shadow over the valley. Her scales shone with renewed strength, and her eyes glimmered with life once more. Alex stepped back, letting her rise. The dragons around them roared in unison, a sound of celebration, respect, and new understanding. Alex knew that this was only the beginning. The queen was not fully healed, the raiders might return and new challenges would come. But for now he had accomplished the impossible. He had stood against danger, risked everything, and saved a life that no one else could. And in that quiet, golden light of the valley, the human and the dragon shared a moment of understanding. Courage, intelligence, and determination had proven stronger than size or power. The impossible task had been completed, and the galaxy felt a little safer, at least for this day. Alex looked at the queen and whispered softly, "We did it. But there's more to come." The queen's eyes met his, and for the first time, they both understood that their journey together was just beginning. The valley was quiet in the early morning light. The alien dragon queen stirred slowly, her massive body shifting as she tried to stand. Alex crouched nearby, his hands hovering over his devices, ready to assist. Her scales gleamed faintly, a golden shimmer returning as her life force stabilized. Zephyr circled above, its silver wings flashing in the sunlight, watching intently. The queen lifted her head fully for the first time since the battle. Her eyes, still wary, met Alex's. There was a spark there, a flicker of recognition and trust. She let out a low growl, almost a sound of relief, and tested her wings. They rose slowly, trembling at first, then stronger with each movement. Alex smiled, knowing the queen was awakening from the brink of death. The other dragons hovered closer, their curiosity overcoming fear. They had witnessed the impossible, a human saving the queen when no dragon or alien could. Some of them lowered their wings, circling in tentative respect. Zephyr chirped happily, landing near Alex, nudging him as if to say, "See? We did it." Alex knew her recovery was not complete. Her energy was returning, but the wounds were still deep. He moved carefully, adjusting the nanobots and devices, guiding her energy through the machines. "We're going to make it," he whispered, feeling both exhaustion and determination. The queen responded slightly, flexing her wings, sending tiny pulses of energy that flowed into his devices. Suddenly, a rumble shook the valley. Alex looked up and saw the returning alien raiders, this time more determined than before. Their ships hovered menacingly in the sky. The dragons roared, circling the queen protectively, but she was not fully strong yet. Alex's mind raced. He had to act quickly or the queen could be hurt again. Thinking fast, he connected his devices more directly to the queen's core energy. A glow spread across her scales, brighter than before. The queen let out a roar, small at first, then louder, stronger. She flexed her wings fully, and a wave of energy radiated from her, pushing some raider ships back. The dragons cheered in awe, realizing that this human had taught their queen a new way to fight. Alex climbed onto a rock beside the queen, guiding her movements carefully. "We can do this together," he said, calm but firm. The queen responded instinctively, lifting her body and wings with greater strength. The raiders fired again, but Alex redirected the energy pulses, protecting both himself and the queen. Zephyr darted in front, warning of attacks and guiding other dragons to form a defensive perimeter. Minutes passed in tense silence, broken only by the hum of energy and the occasional roar. Slowly, the queen regained full control of her wings and claws. She tested them, striking lightly at the ground, sending tremors that made the raiders hesitate. Her eyes locked on Alex as if asking if he was ready for the final move. Alex nodded, adjusting his devices for one combined surge of energy. With a deep breath, Alex sent all the collected power into the queen's core. She flexed her wings and released it outward in a brilliant wave of golden light. The raiders screamed and scattered, their ships spinning away in retreat. The valley fell silent once more, this time with the feeling of victory and awe. The queen had returned to full strength, guided by a human's courage and intelligence. The dragons circled lower, some landing nearby, all observing the human and the queen. They had always believed in their own power, but now they understood something new. Courage, intelligence, and determination could surpass raw strength. Alex had accomplished what no dragon, no alien had ever done. He had brought their queen back to life and protected her from enemies at the same time. The queen lowered herself to the ground, breathing deeply but steadily. She looked at Alex with eyes full of recognition and respect. Slowly, she lifted her massive head and flexed her wings, a clear sign of her regained strength. Zephyr chirped happily, brushing against Alex as if celebrating the bond that had formed between human and dragon. Alex realized that this was more than just survival, it was a partnership. The queen's trust was earned, not demanded. The dragons hovered closer, some still cautious but all curious, watching the queen recover under Alex's care. A bond was forming, one that would change their understanding of humans forever. As the sun climbed higher, the queen finally rose fully to her feet. Her massive wings spread wide, casting shadows across the valley. She let out a powerful roar, shaking the ground and signaling her full awakening. The dragons responded, circling her in a display of loyalty and newfound respect. Alex stood beside her, exhausted but proud. He had faced the impossible. He had stabilized the queen, defended her from returning raiders, and guided her awakening. And in doing so, he had shown the dragons that humans could be brave, intelligent, and capable of greatness. Zephyr landed beside him, nudging him gently as if to confirm that the dragons now saw him as more than a small creature. The queen looked down at Alex, her massive eyes meeting his. There was no need for words. The connection was clear. She was alive, strong, and ready to lead her people again, and she owed her recovery in part to this human who dared to face the impossible. Alex knew challenges still awaited. The raiders could return and other dangers might threaten the dragon world. But for now the impossible had been achieved. He had helped awaken a queen, defended her, and earned the trust of an entire dragon race. He stepped back, watching the queen stretch her wings fully, feeling the energy flow from her body like sunlight. A new understanding had been forged, not just between human and dragon, but between species that had never trusted one another before. Alex whispered softly, "This is just the beginning," knowing that the journey ahead would be difficult but full of possibilities. The valley was alive with hope, courage, and the promise of a new bond. The human and the queen had proven that even the smallest being could make the greatest difference. And in that moment, the dragons, the queen, and Alex all understood that together, they could face whatever challenges the galaxy might bring. The valley was calm, bathed in the golden light of the rising sun. The alien dragon queen stretched her massive wings fully, the shimmer of her scales brighter than ever. Alex stood nearby, exhausted but proud, watching her regain strength. Around them, dragons of all sizes hovered and landed carefully, their eyes filled with awe and respect. For the first time they looked at a human not as a fragile being, but as a partner, a problem solver, a hero. The queen let out a low, resonant roar that shook the cliffs around the valley. It was not a sound of anger or pain, but of life restored and power reclaimed. The other dragons echoed her call, circling the skies, announcing that their queen had returned and that a new chapter was beginning. Alex felt a shiver run down his spine. He had witnessed history being made, not through force or magic alone, but through courage, intelligence, and determination. Zephyr landed beside Alex, brushing its head against his arm in a gesture of friendship. The young dragon chirped softly, almost smiling. Alex patted Zephyr gently. "We did it," he said. "But this is only the start." The bond between human and dragon had grown strong in the fires of danger, and it would shape the future of both species. The queen looked at Alex, her golden eyes piercing yet gentle. She lowered her massive head to his level, an unusual gesture of trust and respect. Alex understood immediately. The dragons were no longer enemies or indifferent observers. They were allies, and he had earned their trust through ingenuity, courage, and care. The queen's recovery was not just a physical restoration. It was a symbol of a bridge being built between humans and dragons. Word spread quickly across the dragon world. News of the queen's survival, and of the human who had saved her, reached every corner of the realm. Dragons who had doubted humans now approached Alex cautiously, but with curiosity and admiration. Even the elder dragons who had once scoffed at his presence, lowered their heads in recognition. Alex realized that a small human could inspire change in creatures far stronger and older than himself. The queen, now fully recovered, tested her strength and flight. She soared above the valley, wings cutting through the air with power and grace. Alex watched from below, amazed by the elegance and might of the creature he had helped save. Zephyr circled him, calling attention to the queen's flight, proud that Alex had played a part in this moment. The dragons followed their queen, forming a protective pattern around her, and the valley felt alive with unity. Alex knew his work was not done. The galaxy was vast, full of dangers that neither humans nor dragons could face alone. The alien raiders might return, and other threats loomed beyond the stars. But now there was hope, a chance for cooperation, trust, and shared strength between species that had never fully understood each other. Humans, small and clever, could make a difference in ways dragons could not, and dragons, strong and wise, could protect and guide where humans lacked power. The queen returned to the ground, landing gracefully beside Alex. She lowered her head slightly, brushing her snout gently near him. Alex felt the connection, a silent agreement that they would face the future together. The dragons around them settled, wings folding, eyes bright with curiosity and respect. For the first time, Alex felt that humans were not just visitors or observers in this galaxy, they were vital players in its survival and growth. Over the following days, Alex worked alongside the dragons. He taught them how to use small human devices to stabilize energy, repair injuries, and defend against attacks. The dragons learned quickly, guided by their queen and Alex's knowledge. Zephyr remained by his side, always alert, always encouraging. The queen, stronger than ever, watched carefully, her respect for humans deepening. The bond between species grew, built on trust, courage, and the understanding that together they could achieve the impossible. The alien raiders returned once more, but this time the dragons and Alex were ready. Using a combination of dragon strength and human technology, they created defenses that the raiders could not penetrate. The queen led the attack with renewed confidence, her wings casting shadows that intimidated even the bravest enemy. Alex coordinated with precision, his devices amplifying the dragon's natural power. The raiders fled, unable to face this united force. The dragons celebrated their victory, and Alex felt a quiet pride. The valley, once a place of fear and desperation, now felt alive with hope. The queen perched on a high cliff, overlooking her realm. Alex stood beside her, small in comparison but strong in purpose. He realized that courage was not about size or strength, it was about daring to act when all seemed impossible. The dragons had learned that lesson, and now the galaxy had a new alliance. As evening fell, the queen turned to Alex. Her eyes glimmered, reflecting the last rays of the sun. Alex understood that the impossible task had led to a new era. Humans and dragons, once separated by fear and misunderstanding, now stood together. They would protect their worlds, face challenges side by side, and inspire each other to greatness. Zephyr nudged Alex gently and he smiled. The bond they had formed was not just a moment in time, it was a promise for the future. The queen's roar echoed across the valley, powerful and full of life, signaling a beginning that would change the galaxy forever. Alex looked at the stars above, feeling the weight of what had been achieved. He had saved the alien dragon queen when no one else could, faced dangers that seemed impossible, and forged a new path for humans among the stars. The dragons had learned that strength alone was not enough. Intelligence, courage, and heart could change destinies. The alien dragon queen lowered her massive wings, folding them beside her, and turned her gaze toward the horizon. Alex stood beside her, knowing that their partnership was only the start of something greater. Together, humans and dragons would explore new worlds, face threats, and protect the galaxy. The impossible had been done, and a new era had begun. The valley was silent now, but full of promise. Alex took a deep breath, looking at the Queen, Zephyr, and the other dragons. He whispered, "This is our future. Together." The Queen's eyes met his, and in that silent understanding, the galaxy itself seemed to watch, knowing that something extraordinary had begun. A time when humans could stand among the greatest creatures, not as weak observers but as vital, courageous allies. And so, the alien dragon queen and the human technician, once worlds apart, looked to the stars together. The dragons had learned the value of intelligence and courage, and humans had shown that even the smallest beings could achieve the impossible. A new era had begun, an era of hope, trust, and shared strength across the galaxy.